Lights out and away we go. We're just a few hours away from hearing that at the start of the inaugural Miami Grand Prix. But maybe, just maybe, it should be ding ding, round one, let's fight, as Lewis Hamilton and the FIA continue to go toe to toe in a battle over jewellery in Formula One. And Esteban Ocon is frustrated with the sport and its governing body after safety concerns around the Miami circuit this weekend have apparently been ignored. I'm Ollie Wilson, this is GP Fans. Give us a subscribe down below to stick with us for the whole of this racing weekend and of course through all of the action on Sunday. GPFans.com is the best place to follow our live blog, but now let's get into the headlines before the racing Sunday in Florida. Lewis Hamilton has vowed to defy the FIA over the wearing of jewellery, in particular his nose ring, which could lead to a fine of up to $250,000 US. After qualifying for the Miami Grand Prix, Hamilton once more discussed his frustration at how the FIA is now enforcing their jewellery and underwear regulations to the letter of the law. The FIA have added an exemption to the jewellery ruling, saying wedding rings can now be worn, but other jewellery must be removed, and if drivers refuse, they will be fined over $50,000 US to start with repeat offenders seeing the fine rise to $250,000 US. Hamilton has taken out nearly all of his piercings this weekend, but his nose ring requires minor surgery to remove it, leading to the FIA to give him an exemption until Monaco for the driver to comply. But the 7-time world champion appears to have no intent on taking the step to remove it. Asked if he was happy with the FIA's exemption, Hamilton said no. Asked if he'd take the nose ring out permanently, again, Hamilton said no, adding, "Because I got an exemption here, I'll get an exemption for the rest of the year. Wedding rings are allowed." They, the FIA, said safety is everything, and I said, well, what's happened over the last 16 years? I've had jewellery for the last 16 years, so was safety not an issue back then? This could become a rather bitter battle between the sport and one of its main drivers, and an expensive one for at least one of the parties involved. Driver safety on track has been brought up by Esteban Ocon this weekend as well, with the Alpine driver saying the FIA has been unacceptable in dismissing driver safety concerns after his and Carlos Sainz's crashes in Miami this weekend. The Alpine driver spun out of FP3 on Saturday at the complex turn 13 and 14 section, hitting a concrete wall heavily with the side of his car and cracking the sashi despite the relatively low speed of the impact, meaning he missed qualifying and will start at the back of the grid for Sunday's race. The incident was very similar to one Carlos Sainz suffered on Friday, although the Ferrari driver was able to keep it clean on Saturday and make the front row of the grid for Sunday's main event. Ocon revealed this weekend that talks over driver safety had been ignored when discussing the addition of a Tech Pro barrier at that section of the circuit, saying, "The impact was so hard in comparison to what it should have been. Discussing with Carlos yesterday with the race directors, saying we should put a Tech Pro barrier there and it hasn't been listened to. That is not acceptable and the FIA should push harder for our safety." It's certainly not a good look for the FIA this weekend with the discussion around Lewis Hamilton and his jewellery and all of the talks of safety around that, and yet Esteban Ocon and Carlos Sainz clearly frustrated that a Tech Pro barrier hasn't been put in at that concrete wall section. Of course, there is a race to come as well this Sunday. We will bring you a recap of that later on in the day, and we'll keep you abreast of all of the action and all of the discussion in the build-up to the race on GP Fans Global on Twitter and Instagram, and gpfans.com as well. And give us a subscribe while you're here, just to stick with the channel for the whole of the 2022 season.